I absolutely positively get it, guys. I 100% understand that the Senate races are very important. You got to have control of the Senate if you want to be able to do anything. Well, you really just need control of the House, which Republicans seem to have in pretty good order, although the election is the election for a reason, and we know that anything can actually happen. But the Senate, I know that people are focused on these Senate races. You've got how J.D. Vance really beat up Representative Tim Ryan in that debate in Ohio. You've got the Herschel Walker question going on in Georgia, the conversation of abortion, abortion, abortion. I'm not arguing that abortion isn't an issue for some. It's just not a mover in this election. You've got John Fetterman, the Democrat in Pennsylvania, the lieutenant governor there, who cannot complete a sentence. The stroke has clearly affected him. And with no joking in my thoughts whatsoever, I can't believe the Democrats are running him. Do they not value him? Do they not value his mental acuity? How do we expect this man to do the job if he should win? He can't read what's in front of him. I expect him to be a logical vote when it comes to, I don't know, deciding on a treaty. And if it's not him who's able to do it, who's actually pulling the strings over there, which is a question that should be asked. But none of these things matter because this election is 150% about the economy. And that economy is bad and getting worse, everybody. Welcome to the show. Good to be with you. Presented by Americans for Prosperity, americansforprosperity.org, economic freedom, free speech, economic liberty. Good people who let me do this show, even when we disagree. We do disagree about things. I'll get to that in a future show. This is the absolute madness of my day. This story about Janet Yellen claiming that the economy is doing well. The economy is not doing well and is only going to get worse. Much, much, much worse. As the Janet Yellen story goes from CNBC, saying that the economy has slowed down after a strong recovery, but jobs report indicate a resilient economy. Part of the lie being told by this White House and by Janet Yellen, who I'm calling a liar, is the idea that America has created jobs. And you'll hear this from some people at CNN, but they quickly turn on that. No jobs have been created by the Biden administration. So let's knock that right out. Just so we all understand how we're supposed to engage a conversation, no jobs at all have been created by the Biden administration. What has happened is that people went back to work. So the jobs they claim were created were actually jobs where people went back to the job they already had. You told people they couldn't go to work, and then you told people they could go to work. That's not job creation. That's nuts. That is lying to America and having some like-minded fools lap it all up. And that's what they take us for. They take us for fools. They are simply delivering a message they know is not real. Any rational economist knows, any rational person knows that if I tell you you can't go to your job, and then I tell you you can go to your job, I didn't create a job. It's not like every morning when people go back to work, Biden can say, look, I created all these jobs just today. It's not how it works, but that's what they say. They lie again and again and again and again. This economy is not in a good place. Bank of America is warning of a recession, a large recession in 2023. Based on how we used to actually determine these things, 2 negative quarters of GDP growth, we're in a recession right now. Part of the reason that we're in a recession is because we are unwilling to engage smart energy policy. And as Jamie Dimon of JP Morgan understands, we're the swing.
America needs to play a real leadership role. America is the swing producer, not Saudi Arabia. And we should have gotten that right starting in March. It's almost too late to get it right because obviously these are longer term investments.
We are the ability to add energy to the marketplace. We're it. And we're not doing it because we have an administration that is ideological, not rational, not reasonable, and not smart. There are no adults in the room. Sticking with Jamie Dimon, he did a most beautiful job of explaining how we are getting the whole of energy wrong. This is worth the listen. What the left will tell you, if we go back to President Obama saying that in under his deals, whether it's cap and trade, green concepts, uh, electricity costs or energy costs would necessarily skyrocket. That was the terminology that he used. But we've noticed anecdotally that in order to deal with the energy problems that, for example, they have in Europe, they actually did fire up some coal power plants. And we said, isn't that ironic? Jamie Dimon points out, the head of JP Morgan, is no, that's not ironic. That's what happens when you make the claim of green. Listen.
Well, I think we're getting energy completely wrong, which is, ever since this war started, you've known that Europe was going to have a problem and that it was pretty predictable that Putin was going to cut off some gas and certain oil and oil price would go up. And by the way, for the climate folks here, it's made the climate worse because people had this bad assumption that high oil prices and gas prices will reduce consumption, reduce CO2. No, poor nations, India, China, Indonesia, Philippines, Vietnam, are turning back on coal plants, as are rich nations called Germany, Netherlands, France. We have it completely backwards. And in my view, America should have been pumping more oil and gas, and it should have been supported. We're trying to have our cake and eat it too a little.
It's a super smart analysis right there. That we've got it wrong. That the green people who have been telling us for forever that we need to have oil prices high and therefore green will look good by comparison. No, people will go for the other option, which is coal, which you said is dirty and we're not allowed to use. People find a way, which is why the green people say that's why we have to make it illegal. They really do want you to freeze to death this winter? Is that what their real argument? Now, if they say, of course not, look at what you're doing. Rationally look at the situation. People will choose in the United States of America this winter between heat and eat. That choice will get made, and that choice will certainly get made in Europe because this economy cannot hold. As a matter of fact, it's not holding. And as we are seeing, not only Bank of America discuss the fact that recession is coming, even though I say that it's here, check out what's being said now about jobs.
It shows you we've already got 3.8 million jobs added this year. That's monster job creation the past couple of years. And that is in and of itself inflationary. What Bank of America and others are saying is that number is going to slow dramatically because of the Fed's huge interest rate increases. And you're going to see the jobless rate rise. I think B of A says to 5.5% next year. It's at 3.5% right now, which is very, very low. I think the Fed's own target for the jobless rate next year is 4.4%. So Bank of America is saying there's going to be job loss associated with all these Fed interest rate hikes.
Yeah, and I think what's interesting is that depending on whether it's B of A or the Fed, right? I mean, everyone practically sees unemployment going up. Everyone is calling for joblessness to increase. So for you at home, maybe it's not your job on the chopping block, but that does mean the labor market is probably going to be changing, right? I mean, this time when we had 2 open jobs for every one person looking is going to be changing. So maybe it's going to be harder to get a raise. Maybe it's going to be harder to get that perk that you wanted. I mean, the labor market is changing and transitioning, and it seems like everyone pretty much is in agreement on it.
Yeah, Diamond said it's good right now, and it is good right now, but we don't know what it's going to look like in 6 months.
We know what it's going to look like. I was just impressed that CNN actually hit it. 175,000 jobs a month we're going to lose. The jobs won't be there. What's so fascinating is that that's not going to, bring down unemployment. Maybe that's how people may want to view some of these things. The small employers, Midwest Main Street, still needs the people. In anecdotal conversations, I talk to a lot of business owners. As a radio host here in Indianapolis, throughout the state of Indiana, I get to talk to a lot of different people. They're still desperate to find people who actually show up, people who actually want to do the job, people who will stay for more than a week. They can't find them. And so they have been dealing with less and not growing in any measure whatsoever. The job losses are going to come because those interest rates, as we're discussing them, are going to get so high, it's going to make capital expenditures so incredibly difficult. Who's going to invest in their business when money costs 10%? And the answer is no one. Only the rarest of the rare of the rare, the people who have no other option and have no other choice. So what expansion, what growth is going to take place? Which brings us to this. This is the early access sale from Amazon. You know, Amazon did a whole Prime thing this summer, and they sold, I think the number was like 300 million actual items. And I said, that number is huge. But what if that number was just getting ready for the holidays? Retailers are expecting weaker holiday sales, total sales numbers, not necessarily the sales. Why? Because the sales are happening already. People are trying to move through as much inventory as they can. Target has reworked their inventory. Walmart has as well, made cancellations, changed things all around. You think this is going to be a Merry Christmas for a lot of people? There are going to be a lot less gifts under the tree, which means those retailers are going to have a lot less sales, considering everything that may very well go to Amazon. I'm not yelling at Amazon. I'm just noting a reality here. Everything is gearing up for disaster. And as we sit here right now, a month before the midterm election, gas prices continue to go up. People want to tell you this election is about abortion. They are delusional. Might be in a subject for some. It's a worthy conversation. Many people are pro-life. There are some people out there definitely pro-choice. Maybe it's many people. Some people want to figure out the happy medium. That's why I'm glad Roe v. Wade was overturned, so it can be about the states making this decision. Different states do different things, and things might change and morph, and that's how the republic should absolutely act. You think it's about the border? Well, border security is huge. It's massive because border security does lead into economic conversations about the amount of money that we're spending on the border to not do anything, or the amount of money we're giving to people who are coming across the border illegally. These are conversations that happen at dinner tables. The economy is everything, and we've lost sight of that. There are people who think that somehow they can just avoid that conversation whatsoever. This I found from the Americans for Prosperity site. It was a Q&A with one of their directors there in Louisiana. And they've been doing this true cost of Washington thing around the country. They did it here in Indiana, where they were giving away gas for like an hour and a half at different gas stations at the price when Biden took office, $2.38. And people found out about this, and they waited in line, and they couldn't believe it. People could not believe it. They were like, what's the catch? Like, there's no catch. We just want to remind you what the difference between good policy and bad policy. We want you to be able to take this information and take it with you into the polling place, or take it with you and do other things with it. It's very, very important stuff. And so they did a little Q&A. And of course, it's about stories of frustration with the current state of the economy. Some people didn't know how they were going to get their kids to school and put food on the table. They were choosing between groceries and gas. And when they pulled up to our stations, the amazement and relief in their eyes when they heard what we were doing for them, this is what kept me motivated throughout the tour. I have heard those stories right here in Indiana and across the country. Those stories come through. That at $2.38 a gallon instead of the $4 a gallon, that difference in a 20-gallon tank was the difference between buying this, doing that, being able to relax. These things matter in measures we cannot possibly understand for other individual lives. Now, maybe I can't understand it for your life and you can't understand it for mine, but this is the point. That when we see gas prices this high, the effect is massive to the damage. It affects all the other things. Gas prices, inflation, jobs, not being able to get a raise, as you heard there on CNN. And of course, the recognition that the recession is here, but it's going to get worse. 2023 is shaping up to be a horrific economic year. Absolute brutality. I would love to be wrong, because I don't want it. I don't want it. I want to be able to make a living. I want to be able to grow my businesses. I want to be able to build. What building? Honestly, what building is going to take place? The economy is the top issue. And anybody who says otherwise is out of their mind. They're wrong and they should be told. And anybody who is voting on abortion first, you are man, I caught myself 3 times there. I was going to say something. So, no, you shouldn't say that, Tony. So I'll leave it at that. This, Catherine, is not a smoking jacket. This is my Eat, Drink, Smoke swag. Of course, my Cigar and Bourbon show, Eat, a Drink, Smoke. It is one of the pullovers, and we have these for sale. Now, over at the website, eatdrinksmokeshow.com, which we do through locals, they don't yet have a shop, and that's why we haven't sold these yet. But if you want one, I can take your money and make that happen. See? I need Catherine to be able to afford these right here. It's very, very important. Jerome Powell and crew waited too long. That's a Jamie Dimon theory, that the Fed waited too long to raise interest rates. And you'll notice on CNN, they were kind of angry that the interest rates are so high. We're not done yet. The Fed has said they want to see a Federal Reserve rate target of 4.6%. We're right now between 3 and 3.25%. So that's another 1.5%. We've got 30-year fixed at 6.8%. Get ready for these things to hit 10%, kids. It's just going to happen. That's the way it is. The economy is the only subject. And if you want to know what Joe Biden is going to do about it, well, I can't tell you much. He's too busy talking about firefighters.
What happened was I was doing Meet the Press, and lightning struck a little pond behind my house, came up through the ground into the air conditioning system, ended up generating thick black smoke, literally that of those proportions. And from the basement to the 3rd floor, the attic, everything was ruined. And the kitchen floor, we almost lost a couple firefighters, they tell me, because the kitchen floor was in the house, in addition to almost collapsed into the basement.
Joe Biden, I don't know how many years ago it was, had lightning strike his house, and it created a small fire in the kitchen. Firefighters were lost. Could have been lost. Maybe were lost. Might have been lost. Thankfully weren't lost. I don't. Does it matter? He makes up the stories as he goes along. That is not somebody focused. That is not somebody America has faith in to figure out how to help them feed their kids. Because remember, it's not up to Biden to feed your kids. It's up to you to feed your kids. What the government needs to do is institute policies that make it easier for you to have the opportunity to feed your kids. It's still got to be up to you. It's why you got to elect better people. Elect better people. I don't know, Mike. I don't know if Corn Pop was there, but truthfully, isn't Corn Pop everywhere? Isn't it the darkness that resides in a man's soul or woman's? Because, well, then again, I don't even know what a woman is. See what I did? Oh, there are going to be emails. Guys, I appreciate you so very much. And my thanks, as always, to the good people at Americans for Prosperity who let me do this show, americansforprosperity.org. Find out about them. Go check them out where they are, americansforprosperity.org. You want it one more time? Boom, there it is, americansforprosperity.org. I appreciate you guys so very much. And catch me at WIBC.com tomorrow starting at 6 a.m. I will be there. I will catch you there. Until then, guys.